Alright guys, welcome to a brand new series of videos. This is an interview series that's brand new to the channel. In this series, I interview some of the top drummers in our industry, pros that are out there touring, recording, doing session work, and everything in between. Some really heavy hitters and some incredible guests. In today's video, we have our first guest, and Anthony Ghazel, the new drummer of Daughtry. As those of you who subscribe to the channel and maybe follow me on Instagram, you know that I also auditioned for the Daughtry gig, as you can see here. And although I didn't get it, I'm so proud of Anthony and excited to see him playing with the band and killing it each and every night out on tour. But guys, I'm so excited for this series. We have a number of drummers already ready and scheduled for interviews, and I cannot wait for you to see who's next. But with that, let's jump into the video. Hey guys, welcome to the channel. This is Kyle Smith, Arizona drummer, and I'm here with Anthony Ghazel, who's currently playing drums with Daughtry, but again has been with us in our industry playing with Hollywood Undead, Rock Locks. I think all of us at this point should know what Rock Locks are. If you don't, we'll talk about them today. We'll also have them linked down below. But Anthony, welcome to the channel. Thanks for making time.
Hey, what's up, man? Thank you for having me. It's awesome to be here.
Absolutely, and you're the first interview of this kind of series of drummers that I'm sitting down with, just to talk about, what got you into the instrument, your experience, being out in the industry, touring, playing with bands, as well as what it takes to really persevere and chase this dream that we have. We'll talk about some fun things along the way, but, I just want to say thank you for kind of kickstarting the series with us. You and I just met a couple weeks ago at the Disturbed and Daughtry show. And, so that's kind of where we got to know each other. But maybe let's talk a little bit for the fans that maybe aren't familiar with you about your origins. So how you got started in drumming, what your early industry experience was, things like that.
Totally. Yeah, man. Again, thanks for having me. It's always cool to be able to share any little nuggets of wisdom that I've picked up over the years. I'm still very young, relatively speaking. I'm 34. But I started playing drums when I was 12. I grew up on a small island in Washington State. It's called Orcas Island.
Okay.
And it's an island that you have to take a ferry to. And I think that's what makes it very unique is it was a place where like everybody knew everybody. It was safe. People didn't lock their doors. People didn't lock their cars. Not only did people not lock their cars, they left their keys in their cars half the time. Like it was a really special place to grow up. Nobody in my family played drums. My mom played music at church a little bit, played a little bit of piano, sang, but there was surely no like force of nature kind of pushing me into the direction of playing music. I was actually hanging out with, to give you an idea how small the island is as well, my graduating high school class was 22 kids. So,
oh my God,
this was the public school on the island. so I was on the island and I was playing Halo 1 with one of my best friends, like the old school, the first Xbox. And his dad was like a hoarder and had all kinds of random stuff on his property. And one of the things he had was this old red Yamaha drum kit. And I was like, Matt, I'm bored. Teach me something on the drums. And he just taught me a quick beat. And I remember picking it up really fast. I also remember having this moment because by 12 years old, I had played I had played soccer, baseball, basketball, like dabbled with football. It wasn't for me. I was too small, yeah. But like skateboarding, rollerblading. But the second I played drums, like something sort of just was like, okay, this is what I want to try to like get good at this.
Yeah.
And I started going to my church to use the drum kit for free. It was like the one place I could go. Like I would go like on a day that there was a church, and I was just like, can I just come in and play the drums? Usually they didn't care. And then eventually my mom helped me buy my first drum kit. I actually think she bought the first kit. It was like one of those Yamaha starter kits.
Oh yeah.
That came with Yamaha cymbals. And then and that's how you know it was. That's how you know it was bad. If it comes with cymbals. And then after that, I started saving up money and teaching myself how to play, and I watched a lot of this was like pre-YouTube, so which would love to talk about this topic. This is like a really fascinating thing for me. But when I was trying to find drum videos in my mid-teens, YouTube didn't exist yet, but there was drummerworld.com where I don't know how it worked. I don't know if it had something to do with Modern Drummer. I have no idea, but they would take those Modern Drummer DVDs and they'd put clips of them online. So I remember like watching Chris Adler from Lamb of God and Jason Bittner from Shadows Fall, and anyway, all those famous Drummer World videos that everyone watched. And I took a handful of lessons, like 2 or 3, like nothing, literally 2 or 3, if maybe 2. And that's basically how I got started. So
it's funny. So like, we have a very similar background. Like you're saying, drummerworld.com. I'm like, yes, I was there.
Yeah. How old are you again?
I'm 34 as well. So
okay. So we're the same. Same,
we're in lockstep. Yeah. but so I was doing the Chris Adler stuff, the Philadelphia DVDs, the Chimera, making of the album, and
the Philadelphia DVD, is that the one where like there's an extra bonus scene where he explains his like kick technique for 11th Hour? I don't remember what song it was.
For Ruin.
That's what it is. Yeah.
And he does like the crazy Phil thing, and I remember watching that, the Chimera DVD, of Slipknot DVDs. I remember. So I was 8 years old when I started, and it was one of those things where I tried guitar. Again, I skateboarded. I was never into sports, but my uncle has been playing guitar for like 60-something years. And so he was like, you should play guitar. But my mom would see me kind of tapping on things to music. She's like, what if we tried drums? And I'm like, yes, let's do it. And what got me into it was I listened to Slipknot's self-titled album in 1999. And I was like, that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
And I did the same thing. Couple lessons, like maybe a couple months of lessons. And then just, taught myself after that, playing in bands and all that fun stuff. And it's interesting how when it clicks for you, it clicks. And I could sit on, now that YouTube exists, I can sit there and watch other drummers play, for hours without ever getting bored, and learning and taking stuff from them. And
God, I wish I had that as a resource, man.
I know, right?
I had endless drive to learn. It was just like a insatiable drive to learn. And so if I had the resource of YouTube, I mean, I just think you still need to have that drive to learn, but that would like expedite a lot of stuff. I'm teaching myself how to play guitar right now. Yeah. And I don't know if it's just because I've played drums for a long time. It's coming to me pretty quickly, I think. But I also feel like part of it is that I could just look up YouTube videos on like what chords I need to learn, like basic pentatonic scale exercises. Like you can just learn, like what are the, like you can just type in literally first guitar lesson. There's like 30 videos that are like, start here for this is your first guitar lesson ever.
Exactly. So like, here's how to tune. Here's how to adjust your guitar, and you can just sit there and play along. And it's like, there's more resources than ever. But I will say one thing, and that's kind of a nice segue, that there aren't a lot of resources for, or like how to navigate, how to be a professional once you're there, once you've learned the instrument, you've played with bands. And so like for you, obviously you've been touring forever. And, the big thing that I can kind of think of a couple that come to mind, but, key gigs, key moments, big things that have happened to you that either were something you learned from because like it didn't go the way you wanted it to go, or something that went really well and you're like, oh, I need to do that every time. What are some of those kind of things that come to your mind?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, I want to start by saying that it's like when I was in high school, I played in this band, and I had a few bands just in high school, but because it was such a small town, there wasn't like an active show ecosystem. So we literally played like 1 or 2 shows a year, which sucks because, dude, if I had started a band if I was born in Orange County and I started a band when I was 13, by the time I was 20, I would have played, a couple hundred shows probably. That's not the case. There was this whatever, but we had a lot of band practices, which was, it's not playing a show, but it teaches you a lot how to listen. It teaches you a lot how to like play for the song. Even though you're all idiots at 15 years old, having another idiot tell you like, hey, that drum fill doesn't feel right, or like try something on the toms there, like just kind of giving these like I think, a lot of musicians have like a sixth sense for what is right or what is wrong or what is good or what is bad. And I think just having a lot of those conversations, I was always in bands with people that were older than me too. Yeah. So like I was 14 and I had a 20-year-old in my band. Like he was telling me how to, show me, like, play this beat. Let's hear it. Listen to this Blink-182 song, play it like that. My first real local band though, that actually like got in a van and went out and played shows, I was 20. So I tell people I started touring when I was 20. Okay. I was a junior in college. So, it was complicated. It was hard to leave, but I remember we went on like a spring break tour, I think. Point is, we were getting in a van, driving around playing dive bars and, floor shows, house shows, just anybody who would let us play a show. Eventually, I just kept doing it. Doing it. And by like 23, 24, you'd see people kind of fall off. People got married. People had kids. People would rather, I always use the Seahawks as an example because I was in a band. I love these dudes, but I was in a band with 4 other guys and 3 of them would have much rather watched the Seahawks than do band practice. Now, do I understand that? Like, is watching the Seahawks when they're really good and it's the playoffs like more fun than going to band practice? Yes, but I was just in a stage of life where I was like, I don't care about anything but playing drums. So like, yes, it'd be fun to watch the Seahawks, but I would still rather go to band practice. Yeah. And not to mention, dude, we practiced 45 minutes to like an hour from where I lived. So it's not like getting to band practice was chill. It was a long ass drive. And I still would have rather done that than stayed home and like had some beers and watched football. Absolutely. Which also sounds awesome. But that's the thing though. That's like really is the difference, because at that age you kind of come across these Y's in the road. You're constantly hitting another Y in the road, like over and over and over again. It's like, do you choose drums again, or do you like choose safety? So to answer your question, the reason I just wanted to preface all that, but to answer the question, when the good gigs started coming, which was 2017, so it hasn't been that long. It's only been 8 years of like good gigs. The thing I started really realizing quickly was when people said, I often got a compliment that was like, that was an awesome show, Anthony. I didn't have to think about you. Or, wow, I couldn't hear the click track. Those two things are basically the same compliment. Yeah. Which I'm not trying to toot my own horn because I'm not that, I don't think I'm some superhero drummer, but that was always a strength of mine. Yeah. So being able to play tight to a click, being able to feel tight and to feel good is a skill that just takes playing a lot of shows and a lot of practice. And so that's definitely one of the positive things that sticks out to my mind. One of the things, I've only lost one gig. I've only been like let go once. Yeah. And that was, I won't throw anybody under the bus, but that was a situation where I will say I learned that I have to like put myself first. Like, this is a ruthless industry, just like every other industry. And when you're a hired gun, it's so important that you show up and that you be a pro and you do your job at a high level. But you always have to look out for yourself first, because the unfortunate reality is that band that you work for or that artist you work for, they're always looking out for themselves first. And they got their own manager, and their manager's looking out for them. They got literally a team of people looking out for them. And you don't have a team of people. You don't have a manager. You don't have, so you gotta learn how to play ball a little bit. And that is a skill in its own, and it takes a long time, and it takes a lot of practice and a lot of like falling on your face. But getting let go from a gig that I should not have gotten let go from, like objectively should not have gotten let go from, was my wake up call. And it was because I was sort of my fault in it was that I was tiptoeing between 2 gigs, and I should have just gone with the better gig. I was trying to like make everybody happy. And I ended up making nobody happy and myself unhappy. There is a fine line there, though, because I do think loyalty can pay off long term. Like that's for another conversation, probably. But anyway, those 2 things stick out.
You said a couple things in there that really resonated with me. So, like, just to give you a little bit of background, honestly, the same thing. I was playing out live gigs with people who are way older than me. I think I started playing shows around here locally at like 12, playing in like soda bars. And then like we would play with a band. They'd like bring me in the back because I couldn't go through the bar, and I would play and then they would kick me back
I've
out.
done that a million times. Yeah.
So like, just playing and having a good time. And to your point though, what you learn is how to compose music, how to play with other people, how to listen, how to follow a time. And I did like my upbringing in music was mostly like just death metal, progressive death, like just crazy. It was like a combination of like Chimera, Whitechapel, and like Between the Buried and Me. So just like kind of crazy. And so I did a lot of like you're not really listening to vocals, you're just blasting away.
Sure.
And I joined this band a couple years ago. The main star there is the singer, which is typically the case in the bands. And that's where I really had to learn, like, there is a lot of value in pulling back. There's a lot of value in creating space. There's little areas where you can do little cool flashy things, but for the most part, like, your job is to keep time, make sure the audience can dance, have a good time, and that the band doesn't have to worry. And so one of the things that I've made as like my little slogan, I guess, for whenever I'm like reaching out to people is I lead with professionalism, maturity, and grace. And the way I look at that is, unfortunately, a lot of people in our industry didn't have the experience to learn some of the professional skills. I stopped playing in bands when I was 21 because I had my daughter, focused on that, and started again when COVID happened. So I worked in the corporate world and I still do, but for almost 2 decades. So I got to learn.
Yeah, you learn how to be an adult. It's basically what it is.
Exactly.
Yeah, a lot of people in bands skip that part of their life. Like their band blew up when they were 17.
Yeah.
And then they snap their fingers and they're 30 and they've never had to like file their own taxes because they've had like a business manager doing it.
Exactly.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I think it's awesome. That's what I wanted my life to be.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
Like, I wish that was my life now. I wish I just like didn't have to worry, didn't have to worry about any of the like paperwork. But you end up with this as a hired gun. It's just it's a really hard job, dude. It's a really, really hard job. And because there's a lot of people who want that job and they want that gig, and you gotta kind of have like the whole package. Otherwise it's not going to work out. Like I see people get let go from gigs. It's more often than not, it's a personality thing than it is a playing thing. See, but people lose track. I think people have lost track of the playing part of it as well. Because, I think everyone's gotten so numb to like produce or programming drums and like everything being so perfect, and then they want their drummer to show up and play it like the record, like these programmed drums that are all pinned at 127 velocity and quantized. And it's like, you can try to recreate that live, but at the end of the day, it's a human being playing. But I love it, man. I love the challenge. I love the like thrill. I love this idea of like, these 4 dudes have played these songs so many times and I like barely know them, and I have to try to figure out how to like blend in.
Yeah.
And that is the art of like the hired gun. And it takes a lot of humility it takes a lot of like, you can't be the guy who wants to be the guy. You got to play for the song. You got to play for the folks around you. You got to play for the room. Like you got to play the songs like it's literally your job, because it is, but it's not about you. And the sooner you realize it's not about you, like if you want drums to be about you, hired gun stuff is not for you. Go start your own band and go crazy on the drums. But if your job is to show up and play somebody else's drums, chances are they're not going to care, how many triple paradiddles you can do.
Yeah, you're right though. And but that's where the maturity comes in too, where it's like once you get to a certain point and you realize that like I'm not playing drums so I can do double bass. I mean, we all like double bass, but so I can show off my double bass skills or my fills or whatever. I want to play drums because I love creating music and collaborating with others, And
I had a thought in the elevator today leaving my apartment. I was like, I don't know why this crossed my mind, but I was like, dude, I don't even think I would like love to just not play a double pedal ever again. I would love to just have a single pedal. It's so hard, dude.
I have those days. I've been playing double pedal since I was like 8 years old, so like it's just kind of in my head. But I know exactly what you mean. I played this kind of like this postmodern rock gig. We played at this festival a couple months ago, opening it for Jordan Sparks, which was like really cool.
Oh, cool.
But totally out of my normal wheelhouse. Because again, I play everything now. When I was younger, it was the death metal, but now it's anything from Missy Elliott to, to country to whatever.
Sure.
And so it was predominantly single pedal the whole time. Like, God, this is great. You're just kind of in the pocket. You're playing to the click. I don't think got above, I don't know, maybe 120 the whole time. So you're just kind of
yeah, so chill, dude.
Yeah, and like they're good songs, but
so
to your point. Yeah, and you said something else I think is really important, especially because I have maybe a little bit of a different perspective than some of the other YouTube drummers or social media drummers, because I don't like to think of myself that way. I use YouTube as a platform, but a lot of what social media has done is created like these flashy, look at this crazy fill I can do, or watch me do blast beats to Backstreet Boys or whatever it is, which is really entertaining. It's fun, but like to your point, if that's what you want to do, then do it well, have fun, do what you want to do. But if you want to do this professionally, be a hired gun, be that guy, not in the sense of the guy who's going to be the star of the show, but the guy who's going to make sure the star of the show can do what they need to do and perform and continue to grow. And to your point, it is your job to make sure that they feel as comfortable as possible, that they don't see
100%.
anything, that they don't feel a difference. And I think another thing too, and hopefully you'll agree with this, is also, and they can hire any drummer. There's dozens and dozens of drummers out there that are incredible players. That's back to the whole package comment. It's not just about your ability to play. It's your ability to be a professional, have that feel, make sure they're comfortable. And then another thing I was thinking of that happened at this festival I was just talking about is the guitar player didn't have any ears and he couldn't hear the backing tracks. So we were off on the click. And so luckily I did my work. I prepared, I knew the song, so I just reached over, turned off the click, and finished the song. But I'm like, that's another thing though, like somebody who didn't have that experience, like you might have to restart the song or stop. And
if you've never experienced something like that, it's very easy to panic in the moment and make the situation even worse. You have to experience like everything that could ever go wrong on stage. I've experienced all of it, everything. I mean, I can't think of something I haven't experienced. Stuff falling over, stuff breaking, playback dying, computers dying, monitors going out, in-ears going out, pedals breaking.
Yeah,
everything. I can't think of one thing that I haven't experienced on stage. And now when it happens, I'm like, okay, I know instantly. I'm like, I know what's happening. Also, any good tech knows what's going on immediately as well. So,
which we're going to talk about Andrew in a minute.
Yeah, the man.
Yeah, but really quick, I just want to tell you a quick story that I have to share this because I think you'll think it's funny, and only drummers would think this is funny. But we're playing at this convention. This is back last year, and it's at like a hotel, like convention center, and we set up everything, do our sound check, and then they tear it all down. So that way, they hired burlesque dancers to kind of like kickstart the show. It was like a horror convention type thing. So burlesque dancers are doing their thing. They get off the stage, we set up. Well, the front of house didn't put my monitor back. It was underneath the stage. So you
couldn't hear anything.
No, I'm just
you're
playing.
You're dead in the water.
Yeah.
But no metronome either. Like you didn't have anything.
No, this band that I was playing with did not like playing with a click. They wanted to.
And was it guitar amps just pointed forward? Yeah, brutal. Yeah. Were they DI or were they just like actual cabs that were on the stage?
Actual cabs. I could
feel
it.
You're cooked. Yeah, that sucks, dude.
Yeah, but I've been there. And to your point, back to learning and listening and practicing and becoming good at not just playing your instrument, but playing with others. Like, luckily, we had played we were so prepared. Like, we could just hear and listen to each other. But, they were basically saying, okay, where's his snare? Because that's how I know where I need to be.
Oh, yeah, because they're probably having trouble hearing, too. People...
Yeah.
Yeah, I've done that. I'm sure you've seen the videos of drum techs tapping the back of the drummer when the pack cuts out. I've had that happen to me. I've had my tech. We didn't get it on film, but it definitely happened. My pack went out. I looked back and I was like, "Yo, my pack's out." It actually wasn't Andrew's, different tech. Shout out Nick Olson, and he was tapping me on the back. It didn't last for very long though, because that shouldn't last for very long. When I've seen those videos where it's like a whole song, I'm like, "What the hell is going on?" Because monitors should be bringing over a new pack. It shouldn't. You shouldn't be. And then during a break, unplug that bitch and put a new one in.
Yeah, exactly.
That's supposed to happen.
It's okay to take 5 seconds and just really quick.
Yeah. Anyway, hilarious. I've seen all the problems. Yes, it's a thing, and I think it's just the general concept of like being a pro, I don't know. I'm still learning. Like, I'm not going to pretend like I know everything, but it's a lifelong journey. And I think that I grew up a big sports guy. So I listen to like basketball podcasts, and a lot of these guys talk about their journeys to becoming pros. And every guy in the NBA has a teammate from high school or college or both that was better than them. Every single one of them. I mean, unless you're talking about literally like LeBron or something.
Yeah.
But like Michael Jordan sucked in high school. He had teammates that were better than him. But all these guys have the same story. They're like, I had a buddy in college who was better than me, but that guy never made the NBA. Yeah. Why? Because that guy never figured out how to become a pro. He never figured out how to like play a role. He never figured out how to like be coachable, to be a good teammate, to show up on time, to do the extra work, to watch film. You name it, right? And so I've been listening to podcasts like that for a very long time, and I've always taken a lot of inspiration because I'm like, yeah, you can get really good at drums, but I know a ton of really great drummers who don't have gigs. I also know a ton of like guys who are drummers who do have gigs. I'm like, what's the common denominator here? It's like they're cool. They're all cool. Yeah. They're easy to hang out with. They show up on time. They do their job. Like, so it is a giant, much larger conversation, but it's not easy. I know that. It's definitely not easy.
That's for sure. Yeah. And the hired gun thing, was relatively new for me. Because again, when I came back to doing all this, I was like, hey, I'm just going to do YouTube and have fun. Yeah. And then people found me and started to hire me for stuff. I'm like, this is what I want to be doing. And then, as this channel kind of grew bigger, and I started to kind of interact again, because again, it had been, so the last show I had played before, like 2 years ago, was in 2012. So it had been like 10 years of no.
Wow.
So I kind of came back and seeing it again as an adult, seeing it with all the experience I have now and playing, I was like, oh my God, there's so many things that I think musicians could benefit from hearing from professionals on how to just etiquette, like how to, for example, like stage your drums before you go up on stage so that you're not figuring it out while you're loading, or,
totally.
Like that kind of stuff, or get your, especially in like a local situation, like the faster you can get your drums off the stage, the better the show is for everybody. But then, I'm also a proponent of, we just did a run the beginning of this year, and I was like, hey, everybody in the touring package, you can just use my kit. You just use your cymbals.
Yeah, of course.
Because I'm like, let's just have a good show.
Make it straight. I mean, I'm all for a lot of that stuff, and all that stuff is a part of like, it is all a part of the process.
Hey, before we get into rock locks, because I know we've been talking about what makes a pro, how can we help pros, let's talk a little bit, just kind of close the chapter on the pro conversation, and what in your words, I know this might take up most of the rest of the interview, but
that's okay.
What in your mind separates a pro from somebody who still has a lot to learn? Like, what do you think are some of those qualities that really make it so it's possible to get a gig and be a professional drummer and inhabit those roles?
If you picture, like, you ever played any sports video games?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, like there's like 95 rated players and 80 rated players, and they have like 20 different stat categories, and they're like, I'm a 78 in rebounding, and I'm a 90 in shooting, and I kind of almost viewed it like that. I don't know how many stat categories there are for a hired gun, but it's not like 30 different categories. It's like skill on the instrument, self-awareness, experience. Experience is really important. I think, that's one of those things that's like, I always tell people you're more likely to get a gig by just being out on like bad tours than by being at home making drum videos. I know that because I've been through that. Like, I've literally lived that life where there was a period of my life where I thought, well, what if I just pumped out a ton of videos? Like, maybe that's going to help. It didn't move the needle at all. All that pumping out the videos did was built a resume so that if somebody did hire me, I could go, hey, there's me playing videos. But what I was doing was I was very tactically making drum videos. Yeah. So I met Being as an Ocean in 2015. I met Tyler from Being as an Ocean like 2014 or 15. Right after meeting him, I went and made a couple Being as an Ocean videos.
Yeah.
Because at the time, I just told him, like, look, dude, I think it was 2015. I was like, look, dude, all I want to do is playing a touring band. I just want to tour. And I'm in these like local bands that aren't going anywhere.
Yeah.
A couple years later, they lost their drummer, and he went on to another gig. So who did Tyler do? Tyler called me. Tyler already had seen me play, two being his Ocean Dogs.
Yeah.
I do want to preface this by saying I think that drummers, if you're really serious about wanting to be a pro, or like if you just want to make content, do whatever you want to do. I don't care.
Yeah.
If you are serious about being a professional drummer who plays for real bands, it's so important that the videos you make are real, that you're not editing stuff, that you're not quantizing stuff, that you're doing it all ideally in one take. And I know it's so easy to just be like, okay, let me just chop this video together. And so I really pride myself. Like, I don't make drum videos that often, but you're damn, you know damn well if you see me post a drum video that like that shit's real. Like, I really pride myself on that. So I've seen people get burned by this before, where they show up to a real gig and they get a little lesson in humility, and it's definitely a thing. So I think you need to have a very high level of self-awareness. I think you need to be like shockingly self-aware, because you're living amongst your coworkers. So in any real job, you don't have to go home with your coworkers at night and say, all right, dude, see you in the morning, and crawl into your bunk. That doesn't happen in normal jobs. So you have to have a very high level of self-awareness. You got to have like great personal hygiene, take care of yourself, be clean, like be organized. You have to be able to know how to answer emails quickly and efficiently. This is like a non-negotiable. You can't just be a guy who, is hard to get a hold of, so to speak. Like you got to be somebody who, because when you get hired on a new gig, you get an influx of like, fill out this paperwork and that paperwork and a W-4 and your tax information, like you're scheduling flights, you're doing all this stuff. It's like, it's a lot of moving parts. And so, and that also comes into play when you're dealing with, gear, endorsement deals, all that stuff. You're talking to like professional drum companies. Like you can't be looking like a scrub in these emails. So, so high level of self-awareness, general professionalism, just across the board, being polite,
Seriously.
Shaking people's hands, looking at them in the eye, asking them questions. Like, I think a part of that is like the self-awareness part is like just being a good hang, but it's hard to be a good hang when you don't have any experience. And that's why I said like experience is definitely its own category, because like when I was 20, I was definitely probably not a chill hang. I was probably like way too eager. I was probably annoying to all my favorite drummers. Like whenever I was meeting them, I'm sure I was not that chill. I'm sure there's somebody along the course of my life who's been like, oh, Anthony, but I would say that I grew out of that quickly. Not everybody grows out of it, but I feel like I grew out of it pretty quickly because I played so many shows and I was exposed to it so much. And then eventually you're on tour with your favorite bands. Yeah. And then you're around them all the time and you can't be that guy. And you just got to be a normal dude. Like everyone just wants to hang out with a normal coworker. Keep thinking about it like a coworker. It's like nobody wants this guy who's talking your ear off and leaving dirty socks in the hallway of the bus. And, there's like, so high level self-awareness, a lot of experience, like tons of shows, just play as many shows. There is no shortcut. Like there just is not a shortcut. Some people get lucky because of external circumstances, but generally speaking, there is not a shortcut. It is, if you look at the greatest hired gun of all time, who is it? Who's the greatest hired gun of all time? Who comes to your mind?
Coming to my mind.
Yeah. You almost said it.
I almost said it. I was thinking either Travis Barker or Jeff Porcaro or...
Oh, okay. Porcaro's a good one. Josh Freese.
Josh Freese.
Yeah, okay.
I'm going to cut out that I didn't know that. Just kidding.
That's okay.
But you're right. You're right. Josh Freese is the best. Yes.
Yeah. And I know he just, the Foo Fighters thing just happened and all that stuff. Yeah. But when he got the Foo Fighters gig, I remember, because I don't know Josh. I'd love to meet Josh and talk to him. I remember looking him up and going, he's 48.
Yeah.
And I was like 30 or 31 at the time. And I went,
yeah.
Well, I'm not Josh Freese and I may never be as good as Josh Freese, but if he's getting the Foo Fighters at 48, who's to say I can't get a killer gig at 48? Now,
absolutely.
He's been playing shows for 40 years, bro. Yeah. He's been playing shows for a long time.
Yeah.
So 30 something years, whatever.
Yeah.
But that's the thing that people miss. People think that it's just like, oh, you're a great drummer, or you get hired. It's like, no, dude, you get hired because somebody knows somebody. I got the call for the Daughtry gig because somebody knew somebody. I got the call for the Hollywood Undead gig because somebody knew somebody, but they knew me from being on a tour with me and going, oh, that guy can play. He's nice. You can hang out with him. He's honest with himself. He doesn't have a like skewed view of who he is. Like, I've always really prided myself on being honest with my playing. Like, I knew when I was bad, and I know what I'm bad at now, and I know what I'm good at now. And I think it's really important to have that honest conversation with yourself and know where you're at. And then just straight up skill, like ability to learn songs quickly, I think is really important when it comes to being a pro, because at first it's really frustrating because you kind of feel like, I remember the first time I had to do it. I remember the first time I had to learn a lot of songs quickly. I was like, this is insane. Like, how is this even possible? But then I've done it so many times now that I've had to accept the fact that it's normal. It's happened so many times that I'm like, oh, there is no world where you just have a ton of preparation. Yeah. That's basically never happens. Yeah. Once in a blue moon it'll happen. Like, the times I've seen it happen is when some A-list artist is booking a 2-year world tour, and they hire the band 6 months before the first rehearsal. And it's like set in stone. It's like, everyone's rehearsing a ton, and you're practicing. You have months to prepare, weeks of rehearsals. That's basically the only time I've ever seen that. But every other hired gun situation that I've seen is almost always somebody getting called last minute and having to fill some shoes.
Yeah, it's like, hey, here's 10 songs. You got to know them by next week. And you're like, all right, I'll do, I don't have a choice. It's the job.
Brutal. And it's so hard to do. And I chart songs in my own fashion. Like, it wouldn't make sense to anybody else. But I was actually teaching a drum lesson the other day. This kid's great. And he's such a, he's eager to learn. And he wanted to learn this 3 Days Grace song. And I was like, you know what? Why don't we work through this the way I would work through it? If 3 Days Grace hired me, how would I learn this song? And I'd never heard this song before. And we got to the first verse. And from the first verse on, I guessed every part before I'd even heard the song. I was like, I bet you anything. Here comes the chorus. Boom. Here comes the chorus. I bet you anything. Here comes the next verse. Boom. I bet you anything. There's a bridge coming up. They're about to cut out. Yeah. Boom. And like, oh, I bet they're going to build here. Oh, here they are building. Like, I bet they're going to go halftime on this last run through at the very end of the chorus. Boom. They go halftime. I've done it so many times that I can, like, 9 times out of 10, I can guess what's going to happen next. Yeah. And I think that, again, it just comes from doing it so much. Like, there is no shortcut. There is no, like, fast track to that. You just have to go through it. So
you have to just do the work. Like, that's really what it boils down to.
Totally.
You just have to do the work.
Have to do the work. So, to summarize, extreme self-awareness. Yeah. Lots of experience. Be able to play to a click like it's nothing. Like, it has to be completely second nature. And just being good. But that, I think, if you do all the other things, you probably are already a decent drummer at that point. If you understand those other things well, I think so too. All of a sudden you'll pop out the other end and be like, oh, I'm actually pretty good at this. I didn't think I was good at drums until I was about 30. I'm not joking. I'm 34 now. So it took me like 4 years of playing professionally to get to the point where I was like, okay, I think I can actually, like, play a little bit. And I still am constantly learning and constantly, like, trying to work on stuff I'm bad at, because there's a lot of stuff I'm still bad at. So
to your point, it's like, that's what it takes, though, is humility and the willingness to learn and get better. And you're not the star. Like, it's not about you. It's about the collective. It's about the audience experience and how the band feels when you're playing with them. Like, that's the most important thing.
It is the most important thing.
Because I think we have time for 2 more questions. Yeah. And the big one, though, is you're now Daughtry's drummer. We've talked about it a couple times. Huge deal. We both auditioned for it, which I think is kind of also how we got connected with each other. Yeah. And I always say this, whether I get a gig or not, I'm like, the right drummer's going to get the gig for whatever the need is. So again, back to being a professional, it's all about lifting each other up. So for me, I'm like, when you got announced, I was like, yes, this is awesome. I'm so excited for you. First, what does this gig mean to you? And then secondly, how has it been since you've gotten it? We've talked a little bit about some of the things that make you a pro, that set you apart. But let's talk about the gig. How has it been, and how do you feel about it?
Yeah, it's been first of all, thank you. It's been a dream. I mean, it's been one of those things where it's just like everything. It just feels like everything you work for. And I've had a lot of years in my life that were really awful, really some really really low points, and at times in my life when things should have been better. Like I've always worked really hard, and I was like always had good grades in school. I graduated college with a business degree. Like by the time I was 28, 29 years old, life should have been pretty like good, but instead I was like really struggling financially and in a pretty dark place. And I think the one thing I always stuck to was I always had a practice space. I never went without a practice space. It was always mandatory. No matter where I lived, I had to have a place to play drums, and I just kept going. When I got the call, and then when I got the gig, and it at first it was sort of like, this is going to be an insane challenge. But I had 4 days to learn this set. So I had 4 days to learn an hour headliner, knowing that in about a week we'd also play a 90-minute headliner. So did I say an hour headliner? I didn't mean an hour headliner.
I know what you meant. With the Disturbed, it was the hour show.
Yeah, I had to play. I had 4 days to learn the hour show for Disturbed, but also in the back of my mind knew that there was other songs that I would have to know for our headliner in a week and a half or whatever it was. So it was extremely daunting at first. I'm not one of those people who like counts my chickens before they hatch. So I was like, I am going to go into this and give it absolutely everything I have, and just leave it all out of the table, because I have to say yes to this. And I don't know if it's possible to learn an hour in 4 days and then fly to Nashville and do one rehearsal and then start a tour with a whole new camp of people that I have never spent any time around. Extremely challenging. One of the most challenging periods of my career. But man, the payoff has been electric. It's a dream. The band is awesome. They've totally like welcomed me in. The crew is next to none. I've had the pleasure of working in a lot of great camps, and Daughtry's crew is incredible. Everyone top to bottom is amazing. My drum tech Andrew, I'll shout him out here, but Andrew, everyone has been top notch. So it has been a dream. It's been amazing. We have a lot of really fun shows coming up this year. So yeah, dude, it's been really rad. And
what has the experience been playing these shows with Disturbed? Obviously, the you guys just did Welcome to Rockville. There's some more stuff coming with Creed. So there's a lot to look forward to.
Yeah, it really has changed my life. Like, it's changed my life. It feels like I'm finally in a place where it's like, you know, this is where I'm supposed to be. And like, I loved playing drums for Hollywood Undead, and I love those guys a lot. And it was really hard to step away from that. You kind of become brothers after doing it for a couple of years. And, you know, I was just texting one of the guys this morning. It's like, I cried at our last show, the last show I played with them, because it was just, it's just hard. It's just hard. I'm a little bit of a sappy guy, and there's, I worked hard as hell to even just get that gig. So it's like, that was a dream come true, and that still is a dream come true. I was able to see the world with them again. It's been awesome. So playing with Daughtry, total dream come true. Really excited for the rest of this year. Yeah, man, I think there's a lot of fun stuff coming, and just like being around like total pros is awesome. It's just awesome. It's like it's an environment where I thrive.
And they're just good dudes, you know. Chris is like, him and I have stayed in touch, and he's just one of the nice, like, for somebody at that level, you know, of just talent, but then also just professionalism. He's just like the most down to earth, nicest dude.
He's awesome,
and he's so supportive. Like, again, like,
I was gonna say, like, he's a really great dude, and it really feels like he appreciates what I like bring to the table, and that's all my job is to make him happy. And so if he's happy with how I'm playing, I'm going to keep doing what I do. And it's a bonus that he appreciates it, that he appreciates, you know, that. So yeah, it's been all love, man. It's been really great.
Yeah. And you're crushing it. Like, I was
Thanks,
there.
Man.
I watched it, you know.
Thanks, man.
So, you know, so I'm for what it's worth, I'm proud. I'm excited. I think it's awesome.
I appreciate it, man.
So that brings us to Andrew. We got to talk about Andrew a little bit. So him and I have been
Yeah.
friends for a while. I'm friends with David as well from the Disturbed world, and I got to finally meet him as well when we were all out there together. And gosh, what like the nicest dude and
Yeah.
that I think I've ever met when it comes to just like the music
Yeah.
industry. I mean, he
Yeah.
comes up and gives me this big hug.
Yeah. He's no, yeah.
Um, and so, like, I know that Andrew, I think, was part of the crew before you had joined, and then he
He was.
obviously stayed, and then you guys have become really close. So maybe we can just talk about him a little bit, shout out what the value is of having such a great partner and having a good drum tech, and some of the things that maybe you look for in a drum tech. Because I know that you've also done some drum teching as well in the
Right.
past. So what are
Yeah.
some of those things that you look for in a good drum tech?
Yeah. Well, Andrew is just a special person in general.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to even view him as my drum tech because he's more of a friend than a drum tech at this point, and we've only known each other for 6 weeks. So, I think that first of all, a lot of people think a drum tech is like a fake job.
No.
It's a very hard job, and it's
Yeah.
a lot of work, man. And when you're drum teching on an arena tour, it's a lot of work. When you're drum teching a headliner on an arena tour, I mean, Dave was busting his ass every day, bro. Like he's dealing with 2 different drum kits, and I just want to give a shout out to drum techs and all techs, guitar techs, and all crew in general, because crew generally just doesn't get enough love. And every great band and artist like definitely is grateful for their crew, and oftentimes you'll hear them shout out the crew on stage. Sometimes they'll be like, without these people backstage, we couldn't put this show on. I mean, and it's so true. So when it comes to looking for a great drum tech, it's like all you want is somebody who picks up your style quickly, and somebody who knows how you like the drums and can replicate that every night. Like, because I've heard situations where, you know, like, okay, I consider myself like I know how to tune drums for sure. I've spent more time than probably anybody I know tuning drums. I have whole spreadsheets I've built on how to tune any drum to any size drum to notes, so that I can take a 10-inch tom and tune it to a D or a D sharp or and if I went and drum teched, let's say Danny Carey from Tool, none of that matters, because Danny wants his drums sounding how Danny wants his drums sounding, and he wants them placed how Danny wants his drums placed. So none of my feel or style or anything has anything to do with that. So the best drum techs can just throw you almost don't want to know anything. I think that's what makes Andrew such a great drum tech, is he's not this experienced. This was his first drum tech gig, is Daughtry. He didn't drum tech before this. He knows how to fix up drums, and he knows how to tune drums, and he knows how to clean drums, and he knows a lot about drums.
Yeah.
But it's more about being that clean slate that's willing to learn. And I think those are the best drum techs that can read the room. It's kind of like the best barbers or the best tattoo artists. It's like they see a vision before it's done, and they're able to, or like you walk into a barbershop and you tell them what you want, and you know when they nail it, and you're like, oh, thank God they nailed it.
Yeah.
That it makes a great drum tech, because they're able to take direction, but they're also really on top of stuff. So they're super organized. Because he manages all the emails. Him and our production manager manage all the emails with Zildjian, Big Firth, Pearl, Remo. So they're dealing with head restocks and stick restocks and replacement cymbals. And, you know, he has a workbox with a bunch of stuff in it, so he can clean whatever he wants to clean or change whatever he needs to change. He's got extra parts. So all that stuff makes for a great drum tech. I believe that anybody who can play drums, if you can just play enough drums to sound check a drum kit properly, if you're willing to learn, if you're willing to open your eyes and your ears and work really hard and learn, I totally think you can be a drum tech. But what separates the really good ones from just a drum tech is the really good ones make it so that you can go play a throw and go show, which was Welcome to Rockville with a throw and go, meaning that we didn't get a sound check. Yeah. And I walk out on stage and I sit down and everything is perfect.
Yeah.
That's what makes a great drum tech. It's exactly how I like it. And any great drummer can feel if your crash cymbal is 1 inch off, you can feel it. So
what does Todd Suckerman say? It's a game of millimeters.
Yeah, exactly.
Just because every little thing, and you're like, and I'm sure you've played the shows where your cymbal stand's falling off, or because you're using a rental kit, or I used to joke that like of all the tours we did and the band I was in before I just kind of left to do more of the hired gun stuff. We did Europe, we did United States, we did the whole thing, and I think I played on my own kit, my own hardware, all of that like twice, because you're just renting.
Yeah, you gotta get good at being makeshift with your, working with what you have. I rented a kit the last tour I did with Undead. I was teching myself, and we rented a kit in Australia, and we rented everything, dude. We rented the cymbals. Yeah. All I did was I brought my pedals and like my hi-hat clutch, because I'm obsessed with the Remo hi-hat clutch. It's like the best one, and then rock locks and hooves. And other than that, I didn't bring anything. And I brought a tune bot, and I just took this rental kit and just made it sound as good as possible. And I have a lot of fun doing that. I actually really enjoy it. I don't miss teching myself at all. But that's because Andrew is so good that he makes it so I don't have to worry about anything, dude. And it's God, it's a sigh of relief to just get up there and be able to do what you need to do, and you don't have to think about stuff breaking. And it's it is a lot of hard work, though. It's a lot of hard work. If you have a lot of drive and a lot of will, and you're willing to learn, and and you can play some drums. What I meant by anybody is that you don't have to be a pro level player to be a drum tech. That's what I was trying to say.
Absolutely, and I think I think a lot of the same qualities that make a professional drummer, though, also, maybe not that same level, but work at the drum tech level. As far as
I feel like
professionalism, good hang, all that.
It should be it should almost be a prerequisite. You should have to tour. Well, you should definitely have to tour and tech yourself many, many times. Yeah. But touring at least once as a drum tech, I think.
I agree.
Because
you need to know, gives you a perspective. Go wrong, and all the things that can go wrong. Why the placement matters. Why the tuning matters. Like how a drum sounds different in every room, every environment, inside, outside. Like it's so. The mic placement, everything is so important. So I think that brings us into maybe one of the last topics. But again, I'm happy to do this, as long as you want, or even do a part two. But I think one thing that makes you specifically unique, right? Because we're talking about, you're fine. We're talking about drummers. We're talking about what it takes to be a pro, the experience of being out there playing music. But you've also segued into, here's a problem in our industry, which is keeping drums in tune. For especially people who like to hit hard. I've got this gigantic, ridiculous drum set behind me with double bass and all kinds of stuff and 20 cymbals. The one in here is my live kit. It's two, 1 up, 2 down. Cymbals,
normal drum kit.
Point is, when you have a drum kit like this, or it doesn't matter, the drums are going to fall out of tune. And so one of the things that I got, I think I told you this when we met, but I got put on the rock locks a couple of years ago when I was touring with my band, and we were bringing my snare drum along, and I was like, God, every day I'm having to crank this thing or get it tuned to where it needs to be. And my buddy who had rock locks on her drum was like, hey, you should try these out. And I'm like, okay. So because I tried the ones in the past, the flimsy plastic ones or like the rubber ones, which don't really do anything. So I'm like, okay, let me try them. So I put them on, and now they're on both my snare drums for both kits. They're on the live kit, the whole thing, the toms, top bottoms, the kicks. Because I'm like, when I'm touring, that's not something I want to have to think about. I'll check them, make sure we're good, but then I want to know that at least for the foreseeable future, I don't have to worry about that until I change heads. Sure. And so I think any drummer, doesn't matter if you've been playing for 3 days, you've been playing for 30 years, can agree that drums falling out of tune, doesn't matter if it's a $20,000 kit or a $200 kit. It's a pain in the ass. It's frustrating, and especially if you don't know how to hear it and know what to do. So what made you go? First, what brought you to Rock Locks? How did you go? Okay, I need this to be fixed, and I'm going to be the one that fix it. How did you get there, and then how did you get it out to everybody? I think those are just huge. It's a huge thing for our industry.
Yeah, it somehow became. Damn, it's pushing. It's almost a household name in drums, which is pretty amazing. Well, I've always been a gear guy. I've always had really great gear, and I think when you do a million tours where you're teching yourself, you're just trying to find, like, I'm a man of efficiency, and I'm trying to find, I'm a smarter, not harder type of dude. Like, I love working hard, but I'm not going to work hard. I'm not going to run on what is it? Like a rat, I'm thinking of like a mouse wheel, a hamster wheel.
Hamster wheel.
I hate the feeling of running on a hamster wheel.
Yeah.
Where you're like working hard, but not going anywhere. So I had tried everything that you could think of. I had tried all of them, and none of them were working for me. Obviously the Gibraltar, or not the, I don't want to name drop because they're not actually, multiple brands have made the plastic rectangular ones. It's a circle in the middle. So you take a square tension rod and you shove it through a circled piece of nylon. And then it literally bends to the shape of the square. Mm-hmm. But then the second you pop it off, it strips out. It strips out immediately. And like, I've seen people make videos where they're like, you can tune a snare, you can like tune the drum with it on. That's what makes it so great. I'm like, how does that make it great? If you can turn the tension rod when it's on there, that means it doesn't work.
Yeah, they never do anything it's supposed to do.
They never worked for me. I would put them on, I'd smash my snare, dude. Because when I was like 25, I would use those I used to be a Vader artist. I used the Vader rock sticks, which are like massive. I would put those on my snare and they just wouldn't even work. They literally just like 2 songs in, my snare's out of tune and I'm pissed off. And they would cut the inside of your knees if you like caught your knee on them. Nothing about them made any sense. And then there's a company that came out with some tension rods that have like nylon strips in the tension rod, and you screw them in. And those were okay, but they always felt like they were like damaging my lugs or something. Like they were too hard to screw in. It just felt, I always hated how they felt, and they weren't completely foolproof. They were okay. And then, I tried literally everything else. The tunerfish ones, you hit the side and they explode. They don't look good. I just didn't like them. So it was late 2020, and here's a circle back moment. The guy I was playing Halo with, who taught me how to play drum, who taught me my first drum beat, I was hanging out with him December of 2020, and he had multiple 3D printers.
Okay.
And he was like, "Hey, you want to make anything with these 3D printers?" And I was like, "Actually, I've kind of had this idea in the back of my head." And we started prototyping. I was like, I want it to look like a half moon because I don't like how the other ones have corners. Yeah. So I want to like follow the concave of the drum, and then instead of a circle in the middle, let's just make it a square. Like, why is it a circle? And so we measured a tension rod, and he like used the software. We made one prototype, and the very first prototype, I shoved it onto a tension. I had a snare drum in my car. I was at his house. I put it on the tension rod, and I was like, bro, we're on to something. and
excuse me.
I was like, I know this is going to work. I'm positive this would work. But the problem is that the tension rod, if it's going to be a square, now the tension rod has to be like parallel with the hoop for it to go on. It can't be at a funky angle. So we made an 8-point star version. That worked. And I was like, well, what if a 12-point star version? And a 12 worked. And I was like, boom, that's the one. Because now you have a bunch of different angles you can put it on. So that's really where it came from. It literally just came from necessity. And the first one I ever made worked. And it's the only time in my entire life that I had that light bulb, like, oh, this is the best idea I've ever had. I knew it the second I saw that prototype. I was like, oh, this is gonna like take over my life.
Like this.
Yeah, people are like this. So I have the luxury of being friends with a lot of the best drummers on planet Earth. So I started sending prototypes to a couple of buddies, 3D printed prototypes, and I was like, try these out. Let me know how you. And it was like rave reviews. I sent them to Travis Orban from Darkest Hour. Yeah. I sent them to Connor from Beartooth.
Mm-hmm. Heavy hitters.
Yeah, slammers. I was going for slammers. Slammers. Yeah. I'm pretty sure I sent some to Frank from Sum 41 even. Yeah, I'm pretty sure he got some. I think I sent some to Tony from Papa Roach. There was a handful, like 4 or 5 guys, right in the early days. I was like, I need the heaviest hands. And if they work for that, if the 3D printed version works for them, then when I injection mold these, they're definitely going to work. And so, long story short, a lot of testing, and then I me and Matt started a business, and Matt actually came up with the name Rocklocks. We were
Oh,
brainstorming
really?
names, and we had a couple early prototype names, and we just nothing was clicking. And all of a sudden he just said Rocklocks. And I was like, yeah, that one,
Yup,
that's the one.
it.
And, I don't know how else to explain it. It just felt like lightning in a bottle. It just felt like, it was something that was destined to work. And my whole marketing plan has just been like top down. So I run a couple of Instagram ads here and there, but I also just know how drummers work. Drummers want to play the gear that their favorite drummers play.
Yeah.
And if there's a utility type, if there's something with so much utility, it's not so much like, oh, I'm using Rocklocks because my favorite drummers use it. I'm using Rocklocks because they work for my favorite drummers. Yeah. It's not because it's like some brilliant branding or something. That's not. Yeah. It's just that I figured I'm just going to give them out to all, just like do this top down, like let it all trickle down, and everybody will see all their favorite drummers using it and go, "What is this?" And then they'll get Instagram ads popping up, and we picked up a distributor pretty quickly. We just launched on Sweetwater a couple months ago. It's been they're sold on Amazon. But we're distributed by Big Bang, which does a lot of other brands, and Big Bang sells to but they sell to basically every music retailer in the country. So if you've made it this far in this interview and your local drum shop doesn't have Rocklocks, just walk in there and be like, they're sold through Big Bang, order them.
As of today, I think this morning, my channel just crossed 12,000, so it's continuing to grow.
Awesome, dude. That's great.
Thank you. So as it continues, I'm like, just keep shouting out, because again, to your point, like I believe in the product. I didn't even know you were associated with it until like you got the Daughtry gig, and I was like, oh shit.
But I also will say this, back to the really quickly. I don't mean to interject, but there was I figured if they worked for me, that they would work for anyone else. But then once I confirmed that they worked for guys who hit even harder than I do, and guys who are better than me in drums, I was like, okay, this is like actually a proven concept that could. That's why I was willing to bet on it. So, it's been rad.
It paid off because again, like not to continue tooting the horn, but I'm like, it's like it's an essential for me now. So I actually keep a pack in my. I have two drumstick bags. I have one that I keep here, one I take whenever I go anywhere, and I always have a pack in there. I also always have an M80 snare weight, so I always have those two things.
Yeah, nice.
Just because I'm like, if I can't control
that can solve a lot of problems. Yeah, you control those.
Like, if I control the snare.
Well, I was going to say one thing I love about SJC, because Mike and I have talked a lot, but SJC uses just normal middle-of-the-road tension rods. They don't try to reinvent the wheel with their tension rods, which I love. And Rocklocks work perfectly on their tension rods, which is awesome. That's why I had to make two sizes, because tension rods like really differ a lot in size, but
it's just crazy.
It's so annoying, dude. It's like the bane of my existence. It's like, Tama decided it was a good idea to make skinny tension rods.
Yeah.
They strip out on drum keys. I love Tama's drums, but what a stupid idea. I don't like inefficiencies, and I don't like, if you're trying to make something proprietary that only works a certain way because you want to sell your little holder, just make it better. Make it better than everyone else's. Make it undeniable. Make it to the point where it's like it's worth your little proprietary nonsense to do it. But generally speaking, that stuff just pisses drummers off. And some of the best sounding snares I've ever heard are, okay, here's an example. The most recorded snare drum of all time, the Ludwig Black Beauty. It's a 1.2 millimeter brass shell with triple flange hoops and normal ass tension rods. And it sounds awesome. It's not, and it drops tune instantly. You hit that thing like 3 times, it's out of tune. Okay, that sucks that it falls out of tune, but it sounds amazing. Throw some Rocklocks on it, boom, don't ever have to worry about it again. In fact, right when I launched Rocklocks, Frank was recording for Sum 41 in LA at East West, and I drove by and gave him a bunch of Rocklocks. He literally phone called me and was like, dude, I'm in the studio and we're tracking a Black Beauty because the engineer really wants to use a Black Beauty, or the producer, whoever it was. Yeah. But we can't get this thing to stay in tune. It keeps like dropping in between takes. And I literally was like, I'll be on the way. This was like, I drove up there. So I gave him the Katy Perry's drum tech. Shout out Devin Williams. I gave him to Devin very early on. If you don't know who Katy Perry's drummer is, it's Tony Royster Jr.
Yeah, Tony Royster, yeah.
One of the goats, and he actually sent me a recording from the show. He sent me a snippet from the top of the show and the end of the show. It was either the 8-inch or the 10-inch tom, which either one, those drop out of tune really fast.
Yeah.
Drop out of tune really fast. 8-inch, 10-inch toms. I think it was a 10-inch tom, but he showed me a snippet from the top of the show, and then 2 hours later at the end of the show, and it had dropped like a quarter of a cent. Like it really hadn't dropped tuning. It was probably the head stretching a little bit.
Yeah.
He's like, bro, like these rock locks, that shit used to just drop out of tune. I'd have to tune it up in the middle of the show because it would just completely fall out.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, they work. They totally work.
Trust me, I got 8, 10, 12 behind me. So I'm like,
I
use 12 live for that reason, but I have 8, 10, 12.
Yeah, if you just go to your 8 right now with a pair of, if you just did this for like 20 seconds, it'd be out of tune probably.
Yeah. So, Trust me, when I'm doing these covers, I'm like, every time. But that's why I went and got it, because I'm like, especially when I'm in here, I'm doing 5, 6 videos at a time. I'm in here for a couple hours. I'm like, I can't have to stop every few minutes. And so, but I'll ask you one more question.
Yeah, one more question that I probably do need to roll.
Yeah, you're fine. I appreciate you making the time. So the last question I ask you is, you talked about playing Halo 1, sitting with your friend, learning the drums, getting kind of started. If you had to go back, talk to your younger self, and just say, hey, here are some advice I'd give you as you're getting started. Here are some things that I think you should know. Like, what would you say to that younger version of yourself as you're kind of starting this journey?
I think that I would say, practice to a metronome.
Absolutely.
I would say wait 5 years to pull out a double kick, like a double pedal.
Yeah.
If I was 12 years old and I could just restart, I would say practice to a metronome as much as possible. Put your double pedal away for 5 years. Don't even touch it until you're 5 years into playing drums.
Yeah.
And then I would say do whatever you can to play more shows. I think I would have benefited. Like my little band, like we only played 1 or 2 shows a year on the island.
Yeah.
If we had just like played shows, even if nobody was there.
Yeah.
If we just like once a month, just like played at a local teen center, even like, all right, it's Anthony's shitty band Mondays or whatever at the teen center. Even that would have been better than 1 show or 2 shows a year. 12 shows a year would have been better. So I think I would have said those things. And I would have said, don't ever let anybody take the fun out of it for you. Don't ever let anybody, zero tolerance for somebody this is the funnest. It's supposed to be fun. It's the funnest thing in the world. And yes, it is my job, but I've sacrificed everything to make it my job. It did not come easily. And it should still be fun, because if it's not fun, it's a lot easier to just stay at home making money, working a real job, or not a real job, but a normal job.
I know what you mean.
Because it's supposed to still be fun. It needs to be fun, because otherwise, what did you work for? Just to have a thing that you hate doing? It's like, that sucks.
Exactly. That's where the passion comes in, and being able to me, tap into that passion. When things, I can work on this 12 hours in a day.
Yeah, totally.
I don't feel like I've tapped out.
Doesn't feel like you work. Yeah.
Yeah, I could go to my job and work 30 minutes, and I'm like, okay, it's time to, it's time to. So like, you've got to remember that we're all, and this is true for every drummer. And then I know I'll probably let you go, but we're here not to become rich, famous, and get the accolades. We're here because we love playing the instrument, and like,
it's supposed to be fun, man.
Yeah, we would prefer to do it in front of as many people as possible, but not because of the paycheck after. It's because I want to share this fun thing that I love to do with as many people as I can. And so,
even that to me has become part of the fun. It's like, at first it was like nerve-wracking, and now it's just like I don't know, it's just fun to play drums.
Yeah.
It's fun to play drums through a fat ass PA. It's just like, it's fun to play. It's fun. Yeah, it's fun to play drums when you're wearing $2,000 in-ear monitors and your in-ear mix is dialed and it sounds like you're in a studio. Like that's a fun way to play drums, but it's still fun. Like I said, like otherwise, what did I sacrifice 14 years of my life for? To like, if it wasn't fun, if it really really sucked and it wasn't fun, I would just go get a day job and stay home. But I still love doing it, man. I love it. I love it.
I think that might be the key thing to close this out on is like sacrifice, professionalism, doing the work. Like it takes so much to get there. But again, if you're consistent, you work hard, you're professional, again, all those different things we talked about, you can do it. But just don't lose sight of like why.
Yeah.
Why are we doing
it? I'll end on this. Someone messaged me the other day and he said, "Hey, I have a full-time job and it's great. And I've been gigging around town. I'm at like a crossroads where, I don't know if I should quit my job and like try to pursue touring full-time. I'm not making any money touring and I just don't really know what to do. If you have any advice." And I want to say this person is mid-20s, let's say.
Yeah.
And I told him, I don't know what the answer is. All I know is that every time I've come to that crossroads, I've chosen drums. So,
yeah.
And I don't know what else to say. I don't know. That's all. That is the only way I know. I don't know what it's like to not choose drums. So, but I would imagine if you just don't choose drums a couple times, next thing you know, you haven't played drums for a few. I don't know. No, next thing you know, it's like if you really, really, really want to do this, you got to want it more than literally anything, and that's the hard pill to swallow for a lot of people. A lot of people are not afforded that opportunity. Like you had a daughter when you were 21. It's tough to. What are you gonna do? I have way more respect for you that you decided to like be a good dad than to be some like dickhead in a. It'd be like a burnout in like a band that wasn't making any money. Like I it's family first, man. It's kids first. Absolutely. You saw our last night just said that they're going to be done touring and they want to be dads. Awesome, dude. I love that. I like comment on the post. I was like, I have so much respect for you guys. This is awesome. Like, that's great, man. I mean, if you can be a dad and tour as well, that's also cool. But I'm just saying, like, I understand when people's obstacles get in the way. I just made sure I never had an obstacle in the way. I was like, I just did everything I could to never have an excuse not to play drums. Yeah. So it's not easy. It's still really hard, man. It's not easy. It's a lot of times you're like, what am I doing? but it does rule. So. Yeah.
And then you get up on that stage and you're like, okay, this is where I'm supposed to be.
I always say the biggest gift drums ever gave me was the ability to see the world. That really is the greatest gift drums ever gave me because I've been able to see the world multiple times over now, and that has given me perspective that I take into things that are a lot more important than drums. It's perspective I take into my relationship, with my girlfriend. It's perspective I take into, professional aspects. It's perspective I take into, when I go play basketball on Sunday with the homies. Like they want to hear the stories and. It's just like, wow, like so many people have never been able to see the world and I have. And I'm so grateful for that. And obviously you meet great people along the way, but
of course.
I think you can meet a lot of great people at a lot of great industries. But being able to see the world, man, how do you put a price tag on that? You really can't. So
you can't. And doing what you love while you're doing it. Like it's, it's a trust right there. When I went to Germany last year, it was the same thing. I was like, this is what it's all about.
Totally. Yeah. Now it's like I've been to Germany so many times. I go to Germany, I feel comfortable.
Yeah.
Like, oh yeah, I've been here before. Yeah, let's walk around this corner. There's like a great ramen spot over here. Yeah. Like it's crazy. So, all right.
Cool. Man. Well, I know we went way over, so I'll let you go.
But no worries.
I just want to say thank you. I'm happy that I got a chance to meet you a couple weeks ago. I'm happy that you and I are starting to become friends, and and that just that you made the time to sit down and meet and give us the advice, give us your experience, and really it's I couldn't have asked for a better first guest for these interview series, and I just appreciate you making the time.
Yeah, of course, man. Anytime, man. So this is a lot of fun. I hope somebody finds a little bit of help here, a nugget of truth, something that they can take away, because it's many experiences, and like I've always grabbed a little bit of inspiration there, a little bit of inspiration there, a little bit of inspiration there. It's not all going to come from me. Like I don't have all the secrets. I was just willing to like die for the instrument for some reason. That's really all it comes down to. So
that might be the thumbnail.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, Anthony's willing to die.
I was willing to die. I was willing. Yeah, I was willing to. I was willing to endure a lot of pain and struggle. So.
Yeah. Well, we appreciate you for making time, and I have a feeling we'll probably do a part 2 of this at some point in the future, just because I think there's so much more we can talk about. But
totally, man.
Worst, I mean, at the very least, next time we're either in the same city together or whatever, I'll make sure to come hang out and say hi. And maybe that's a good thing to say. Just really quick, what's next for you and Daughtry, and what's coming up, just so anybody who wants to be part of it can be part of it.
We have a few fly dates in June. We're flying out to play a handful of shows. The dates are on the website, but then in July, like we kind of quickly mentioned, we're touring with Creed this summer, which I'm a huge fan of Creed. I'm very excited for this one. We're direct supporting Creed for 5 weeks or something. So pretty amazing. Check the tour dates. Come out to a show. This has been awesome, man. Thanks again.
Of course, and just for everybody, I'll link Daughtry's website, the socials, so anybody can just go check it out if they want to. But
perfect.
Thank you. I appreciate you, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay, sounds good, man. Thank you.
Cool.
See ya.
Thank you. See ya.